You are watching CIOTV by Enterprise IT World, a production of Accent Infomedia.
In 2022, chief executives and their boards will be looking for their tech chiefs to build their own recent digital transformation achievements.
Hello and good afternoon. You are watching CIOTV.live. In the series of interviews, we try to understand the perspective of CIOs and IT leaders and various technologies and their strategies to keep their organization immune from the external attacks, plus enhance the productivity of the organization and the employees. Today, our guest is Mr. Indranil Chatterjee, Assistant Vice President, Security and Compliance, Geo Platforms Limited. Welcome, Indranil, and how are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you for this opportunity. So far, I'm doing good.
Well, my first question is there has been a lot of hue and cry around digital transformation recently. What is your perspective on digital transformation and where are you in terms of the journey within the organization?
A very simple answer is we will adopt all AI, ML, NGO, next generation operation to be on top of the technology chart. We deliver best. But I'd like to hit the question from business dimension perspective. So my take out here is a more interconnected world is driving changes in the way that technology is used within business and the individual consumers. The ability of customers and employees to access service through an array of channels, stay in touch around the globe and consume and share information anytime, anywhere is becoming near ubiquitous. Unfortunately, the greenfield ID is a rare thing these days. What we got 6 years back in our organization because we are just building. So CIOs nowadays have to build continually on foundations and plans that were established by their predecessors over the last few decades when enterprise technology, communications, channels to market were very different. In this respect, IT organizations need to evolve and ensure their operating models are meeting the many varied challenges of the new technologies in the interconnected world. Broadly, what I think many enterprise organizations have developed in response to 4 key drivers, which I would like to focus out here. Simple and reliable service delivery. Whatever business you are in, your delivery should be reliable and very simple. Then you have to standardize it. Any of your platform should be standardized so that people can identify that, yes, this is the platform I'm in. Lower cost base. You don't have to, put so many tools and jargons so that your cost of maintenance will go high. So you have to have a lower cost base and control the centralization of control. That is much more important because the current scenario, what we are in for last 1.5 years, or very soon it will be 2 years during pandemic situation. If the control is centralized, then you will be able to deliver it on a proper time to your end customer, whomsoever may be. So that's my take in this question.
All right, I think you have got more than a decade's 2 decades, I'll say, experience in tech space and in leadership role for a decades experience. And you must have seen this journey, transformation journey in several organizations.
Yeah.
And I've been instrumental also in creating IT roadmap or part of that journey, creating
Thank
IT
you.
roadmap strategies. A question comes here: how did you start? What was your beginning steps, or is there any step-by-step approach to embark upon this digital journey?
So, building an IT project roadmap, you can convey the goals of the organization, significant milestones, and dependencies of the project. So, because you are a in-between person between the board and the doers, so you have to know the goals and convert it into a project roadmap with significant milestones as expected. It becomes accessible to a wide range of audiences without getting lost in the weeds of implementation details. That is important. Moreover, while building an IT roadmap, you might feel like one more thing to be worry, that is, it is a time saver. So, it should not be so detailed, so there should not be any time gap. It keeps stakeholders informed, updated without the overhead of the sanitizing project plan details. So we can think about a project plan like roadmaps before the project plans. That is step one. You are likely to be creating project plans for ages, while a roadmap might be less familiar. So, however, that doesn't mean you should start with the project plan then and create a backward step to get a roadmap. Instead, begin with the overall objective of the project and create your IT project roadmap. Once your roadmap is complete, you'll be able to develop an aligned project plan with a clear priorities and goals. That is point one. Then you have to think like a boss. Second point, project plans are for the doers, work bees, the coders, and whomsoever is the team members. They are specific and instructional with lots of data, dates, and details. They are everything for your roadmap. But IT project roadmaps are about goals, objectives, and benefits. So we as a leader need to ensure the detail how you will achieve those and how you can tell when you have done so. So your project roadmap should cover that vision of the organization with your milestones. So you should have a high level project plan for the same. Then you create your own timeline. And why so? Because the roadmap shows the entire scope of the project for as long as you are projecting it to take. The range might span months or years depending upon the size of the undertaking. However, you don't want the roadmap to go out of so far that roughly delivered dates become impossible to predict. In those cases, you can break the project plan up to a different phases. Each phase can get a project roadmap and timeline so that every timeline should be met. The next point here I would like to highlight is split out your work streams. So you need to know what are the work streams you have and then split it so that it will be make an easy step to deliver your projects. Then identify the key activities. A project plan might be having 40 odd points, but you need to identify what are the key activities. So that you need to focus very closely. Then it comes layout activities across the IT project roadmap timeline. Now that you know a major work that is required, it is time to give things order and some very rough dates. Much of this will be logically based on the required order of the operations. I'm not giving examples because of the time constraint out here. The next thing which I can think of is define milestones. So it should be as detailed as possible so that the overall project should not get impacted because you missed one typical point. Maybe I can think of a coder is not getting a is having a holistical view, but not having a detailed view and not able to deliver what you're actually expecting from the developer. So you should define the milestone very significantly and in detail. Then socialize sequentially. With your roadmap draft in hand, it's now time to check on your assumptions and get buy-in from stakeholders. However, this doesn't mean you need to send it out to everyone all at once. So you need to know what to send, when to send, and what is required to make the roadmap looks realistic to the board members. Last but not the least, always be updating. So first you update, take the update from your team who is delivering, and then you provide the correct update to the board. So this is what I can think about a project step-wise roadmap.
All right, very nice. Now the situation is normal to bad due to this resurgence in pandemic. Omicron, the variant, is making rounds. Even COVID-19 also has, the cases have also gone up. In this situation, hybrid work is an alternative. Keep the lights on in the organizations. Along with that, you need to ensure the cyber security is tightly integrated with the system and endpoint, backend also. All the technological parameters should be checked, the patches to be done. Along with that, your business continuity planning has to be there strongly. So how are you seeing it? How are you planning it?
So a healthy and available workforce is an organization's biggest asset during this pandemic, which is what we understood in last 18 months. Such pandemic will mean keeping some employees in quarantine, resulting business disruption. As simple as that. Therefore, implementing a specific pandemic business continuity plan is a paramount in order to have a plan and answer questions such as how you will contact your employees and customers. Do you have solid policies and procedures for employees working remotely? What data privacy and security controls are in place with employees accessing information from home? How you will manage employees' sick period, leave and travel policies? Can your organization continue to deliver the services they are abide to? When you're in office, you are in a specific environment which is controlled. But when we are logging from home, as suppose today, I'm logging from my home network. So what will be the cybersecurity tips? So that is very important. That needs to be sent to the employees again and again. Then you need to know the supporting organization to your organization, which is third party, generally we call. What is their emergency plan? You have created a very good emergency plan, but you don't know what your third party can support during an emergency. So whether they will have it, then only your plan will get a success, otherwise it will not. So that also you need to consider while drafting a pandemic business continuity plan. And then create a hub for employee information so that anybody goes to that hub and get that information, who and when they are available, what is their contact number, primary or alternative, so that during an emergency you can get it created. That's what is my take while thinking of a pandemic business continuity.
All right, Indranil, now we are seeing the cases of Omicron and cases of COVID-19 on rise. What is likely, most likely, I'll say that a situation of hybrid work and ensuring cybersecurity and BCP within the organization also. So what are your plans around that in terms of BCP and cybersecurity, ensuring that nobody is hacked, no system is hacked, no organization being snubbed by the external forces?
Okay, I'll go reverse. First, I'll answer the BCP and then I'll come to the hybrid working model.
Hmm.
So a healthy and available workforce in an organization's biggest asset as on date during the pandemic. So such pandemic will mean keeping some employees in quarantine, resulting in business disruption, as simple as that.
Hmm.
Therefore, implementing a specific pandemic business continuity plan is paramount in order to have a plan and answer questions such as how you will contact your employees and customers. Do you have solid policies and procedures for employees working remotely? What data privacy security controls are in place, employees accessing information from home? How you will manage employees sick period, leave, or for that matter, travel policies? Can your organization continue to deliver services under such scenario? So now to do that, what is required at this point of time is to re-evaluate business impact analysis considering the global pandemic. What are the steps? Validate remote working capabilities. So how my employees will connect to the organization during such critical scenario, whether the services to available to them to connect to the office network and land to the box where they need to be. Then the communication must be quick, clear, and supportive. So because we are not face to face, we are our remote situation. So the communication must be very quick, very clear, and it should be supportive so that they understand it and they act upon it. Then what is more important is cyber security tips for remote workers. Because during the pandemic, they will be only focused on during the business disruption, they will be only focusing on the recovery of the situation. But the cyber security tips should be regularly followed by them. So you need to keep on sending that tips and teaser to them so that they are aware what they have to do, what they don't have to do.
Hmm.
Now, every organization, when they deliver services, they have the back-to-back services with the third party. So you also need to consider the third party's emergency plan, because during the disruption, if you know that your team is ready, but the support what you needed from the third party, they are not available with a plan, then your project disruption will not be recovered soon. So you need to know the vendor's emergency plan. Last but not the least, you need to have a hub for employee information. So you need to have that data available to them, updated when, who available, and when, who not available. If you have those information, you will be able to timely connect to the correct employee required, correct SME required to log into the system during the off-peak hours or maybe on the peak hours to manage the disruption for the organization. That is my take on the BCP part. Okay, you asked me a second question.
Hybrid work and collaboration.
Collaboration, yeah. So this is a very, very detailed question. I'm trying to summarize it into small pieces. So some organization and their people are beginning to exit a grand experiment in remote working. They have learned many things, including how to be more productive in an operating model that was jerry-rigged in a rush to meet the constant challenges and uncertainty of COVID-19 crisis. So we are almost habituated in this situation. Employers couldn't stem the human tragedy of pandemic, of course, but many worked with their people to figure out ingenious ways to keep their companies productive while caring for their workforce. Now, in this scenario, the lesson learned during the pandemic only goes so far in helping leaders address the next great experiment, which is hybrid working. A hybrid model is more complicated than is a fully remote one, to my understanding. At scale, using it will be an unprecedented event in which all kinds of norms that have been accepted practice for decades will be put into the test. leaders are long way from knowing how it will work. The questions of how many days in office per week are the best is the most obvious one to answer. But it isn't the only question. And it may not even be the right one to answer first. There will be likely to be a bevy of questions to address. What work is better done in person than virtually, or vice versa? How will the meeting work best? How can influence and experience be balanced between those who work on site and those who don't? How can you avoid a two-tier system in which people working in the office are valued and rewarded more than those who are working from home? We all are delivering for 18 months in this, but when there will be a hybrid model, you need to consider these questions. Should teams physically gather in a single place while tackling a project? And if so, how often? Can leadership communication to offsite workers be as effective as it is to the workers in the office? Those who are no longer working remotely must accept that they are returning to the office without clear, solid answer to such questions. We will get there eventually, but policies, practices, working norms, collaboration technologies, and more will need to change and evolve as we test and learn. After emerging from pandemic, we will just be starting a new and difficult journey. Because first journey is in office to fully remote during the lockdown. Now from lockdown to a hybrid mode. So you need to understand these are the challenges which need to be answered slowly and steadily because no one has the answer so far for this situation. To conclude my statement, what I say here, don't just repeat what the workforce says explicitly. Emphasize with what they are trying to convey implicitly. Because when we are running some surveys, we get a response from them. So which is mentioned there according to the choice given to them. But what we leader need to understand that what they are trying to convey implicitly. So these are the things we need to consider on a hybrid work model.
And what is the kind of challenges normally you face, others in the same space face from the cybersecurity?
I put into the questions what I asked during my statement. Suppose if I have a 20-member team, 10 are coming to office and 10 are working remotely. So how I will ensure that my evaluation is same for those whom I'm meeting in the office and for those who are working remotely, they are also to be judged properly. Whether during the time of evaluation, I should have a guideline that only about the delivery, what they have to do, I need to evaluate that, and not about their physical presence. Because when you meet physically, things will look many simple. So this two-tier system will never have to have. So these things we need to understand. Sometimes what happens, in metro cities, there are a lot of traffic, etc. So they will take time to come to office. If I think that this particular resource, if they work remotely, they will save those time and they can give some of those times to the organization. So my work can be done better in a remote mode. So those things need to be thought upon. That's why I said that leaders need to reconsider these things. Slowly and steadily we will be there.
Okay, so responsibility lies with the leaders then. But do you think they agree? Management is in concurrence with you also for taking decision as to whether the employees should come to the office or work from home?
Yeah, pandemic relationship between employers and employees is very important. Very important. Meeting employees where they are means signaling awareness that there is a deeper undercurrent of beliefs that will take time to surface and understand, accompanied by a clear commitment that the organization will continue to listen for, process, act, and those signals.
Okay, great. And what about cybersecurity? There is a huge, humongous challenge, I can say. I mean, we have been talking, everybody has been talking about cybersecurity and challenges. So what is your opinion on restricting cyber challenges?
Cyber challenges. Okay. So there will be multiple cyber challenges what we are facing so far. So to start with, what you need to first do is to ensure that the attack surface is reconsidered, which we call in shorter note ASR. Protect against malware infection by blocking threats based on appeal files. I mean, I'm not going very technical. So attack surface recalculation is very important. Then your network protection. So there are next generation firewalls which automatically have the artificial intelligence to understand and protect it. So those things are required here. Controlled folder access, that is required. We always have the antivirus in every organization for it, but currently we need to leverage the next generation antivirus. It uses predictive analysis driven by machine learning and artificial intelligence and combines with threat intelligence to do detect and prevent malware files, detect and prevent malwares and fileless non-malware attacks. Identify malicious behavior of TTPs from unknown sources. So that is required. Most obvious and very important is patch management. Any organization should have a patch management policy process clearly communicated to the employees and coordinated with the development team and should be patched on time. Then you should have an incident plan ready, which is very important. As I said in my earlier question, so you need to have a preparation for that, identification for that, containment for it, eradication, how to identify root cause, the attack, and ensure steps that are taken to prevent similar attacks. Then what is your recovery model? So that you need to understand how to bring production systems back online, test them, and how long to monitor systems to ensure that they are back to normal. And then document the lesson learned. Very important, because perform to a retrospective no later than 1 or 2 weeks from the end of the incident to review the tooling of the organization process and see how to be better prepared for the next attack.
All right. The other one is that the every CIO, IT head or HOD, the objective is to take the organization to a digital transformed organization, and the core of digital transformation, the flexibility comes from cloud. And now enough and more have been spoken about cloud, but now a reverse argument is happening. Cloud is costly. Cloud is the advantage of cloud, of course, is there, but it brings also the flip side. What is your consideration of cloud? How do you see cloud? What are the challenges you are envisaging, and how do you solve those challenges?
Okay, so what are the negative things about cloud? But as I understood it, so people around the globe get access to an open pool resources like apps, services, data, computer, networks. So it is made possible only through a cloud, whether it's a private cloud or a hybrid cloud or a third-party server. However, despite all the development and potential of cloud computing services, there are multiple challenges what we need to consider out here. So first, I would like to list down the ones, and then we can go a little detail about it. So first is security, then it is overall password security, cost management, lack of expertise, internet connectivity, control or governance, compliance, multi-cloud and management, creating a private cloud, performance, and migration. So these are the things to consider. When I talk about security, the topmost concern is investing in cloud services is security issues in cloud computing. It is because your data gets stored and processed by a third-party vendor and you cannot see it. Every day or the other, you get informed about broken authentication, compromised credential, account hacking, data breaches, etc. in a particular scenario. It makes you little more skeptical. So that you need to consider how to overcome it. Then we have password security. So you need to have a very good PAM around it. I'm just trying to touch upon the solution. Otherwise, just by highlighting some problems does not make any sense out here.
Correct.
Password security means the access management. You should have a defined privilege access management solution where the passwords are properly managed by a system, not by an individual. So to make it more bold, you should have a multiple level authentication and ensure that the password remain protected. Also, password should be modified regularly, whatever interval you decide within your organization. Especially when a particular employee resigns or leave the organization, access rights or usernames should be judicially removed in the interest of time, so that they cannot get an access because we are working remotely. Third factor is cost management, which is at most important. Cloud computing enables you to access application software over a fast internet connection, but there is a cost factor which you need to ensure that you're transferring data to public cloud, especially for small business or project. You need to have the budget in place. Finally, the lack of expertise. With the increasing workload on cloud technologies and continuously improving cloud tools, the management has become difficult. There has been a consistent demand for a trained workforce who can deal with the cloud computing tools and services. Hence, you need to train your staff in a regular manner, because people can leave organization with a better opportunity. So you need to have the backup team ready to manage the expertise needed to give these services. Also, internet connectivity should be proper, a high-speed internet connection, so that the business are relatively, ready to access the server on the cloud to deliver the services to their customer. Control or governance required. Properly monitoring is very important out here, which can go negative if you don't monitor it properly. Then compliance, whatever industry you are in, you may be having an TRI regulation, or maybe having an RBI regulation, or maybe some PCI DSS regulation. Whatever is the regulation, you need to ensure that major risk of cloud computing is maintaining compliance. So you need to maintain that compliance level according to your business requirement. If you have a multiple cloud, then the hybrid model requires more complexity. So this has grown rapidly in recent times. So it has become important to list down the challenges faced by such organizations and find solutions to grow with the trend. Finally, the performance. So you need to understand what is the performance of the cloud or third-party vendor. So your business performance depend upon the provider's performance. Another major problem in cloud computing is investing the right cloud service provider. Before investment, you should look for the providers with innovative technologies. The performance of the BIs and other cloud-based systems are linked to provider systems as well. Be cautious about choosing the provider and investigate that they have protocols to mitigate issues that arise in the real time. Finally, the migration. Migration is nothing but moving a new application or an existing application to a cloud. In the case of a new application, the process is pretty straightforward. But if it is an age-old company application, it becomes tedious. So you need to have the documentation and the strategies properly there. During the migration of an age-old application, there should not be any service outage. In the conclusion, we would say cloud computing is a good platform for business to grow and excel, but at the same time, you should remain vigilant while adopting one. Carefully choose your provider, look for the compliance policies they follow, and that they have a proper plan to mitigate risk and vulnerabilities. So that is very important.
All right. The other one, I think, is these days the CIOs are becoming business enablers also. First being technology enablers, now the business enablers also. So technology and business go hand in hand, but many times the alignment doesn't happen properly. In the real world, I would say the business operation happens through a lot of constraints of time, constraints of budget and manpower also. As an IT leader, how do you try to bridge the gap?
Okay. So I remember a time when I used to receive only 10 emails per day. It's true, because only a few other people I know, they had mail and they have handful of people have a computer. But today it is, we imagine how fast the technology is growing. So our reliance on the information, the technology is increasing. Now, to basis that, what I can think is remove barriers and friction to get through uncertainty to the opportunity. Why I'm saying so, composable thinking is the mindset to guide business through uncertainty and opportunity. This shift in thinking can only thrive in an environment with a high trust culture and empowered teams that can identify signals indicating a shift in the marketplace, business, or a key relationship. This type of thinking requires a continuously learning organization constantly on the lookout for opportunities, but also for the existing weakness. Ideally, you will only focus on removing barriers and friction for your teams so that they have the ability and the confidence to put this mindset into the practice. The next thing which I can think over is build multidisciplinary teams to support composable business architecture. Composable business architecture is the organizational blueprint to manage the pace of the business change. The IT should act as an enabler. Mindset is the first step, but without architecture that facilitates composable business, it is impossible to enact a real change. Execution is the key in any business model, but organization with effective composable business architecture build multidisciplinary teams to leverage a wide set of skills and expertise all aligned to the same value proposition. Organizations that have high business composability distribute accountability across leaders, explore new ways of working, and design technology and business in parallel, recognizing that a quick response to a volatile condition is the key. And third and last important point is use technology in ways support key pieces of the business. Technologies are systems that the data integrate quickly and easily. Highly composable organizations recognize that iterative delivery processes, collaborative work styles, and integrated systems drive better results, which means your IT team who only talks about technological language is not going to work until unless they also understand the business language, and then there is a collaborative work style. Then only you'll be able to drive the better results. So that is the handshaking, which is in progress for almost all organizations. Whoever will be able to do it faster, they will be able to deliver better.
All right, Indranil, the final question is that we are heading for, we are at the far end of 2021, heading for 2022. So what, as per you, are the top technologies that the IT leaders should focus on for the next year?
So very common answer is AI ML. Very common answer is AI ML. But in 2022, chief executives and their boards will be looking for their tech chiefs to build their own recent digital transformation achievements. Now, I can list down few of them. assume responsibility for new business areas. That you need to understand and deliver. Take customer experience to the next level. So whatever needs to be done, like I can give you an example. Earlier, what we used to have, we need to call the call centers of different, for travel or for flight or for anything. Now you may not have call centers for many of the applications we have. Instead of that, we have chatbots which are helping us to resolve the problem. So you have to think about the new customer experience and take it to the next level so that you're able to deliver. So I'll give you a very pretty example. During the pandemic, we used to order our regular products, different applications, grocery apps. I found a recent app, I don't want to name a specific vendor, who is saying Blinkit. In the entire city, I see their ad is Blinkit. I require a piece of chili sauce and I ordered it. By next 8 minutes, they deliver it to my home. This is one of the fantastic examples which happened 2-3 days back with me. So earlier I used to, ready for with my mask, etc., go down to the grocery shop, get it. So it will take 10, 15, 20 minutes. But I just ordered it on the app and I get it. So customer experience to the next level is very important out here. Then sell technology as a value generator. I can see a lot of technologies are there which can actually add value to the customer. So that needs to be adopted. Proceed with care as you adopt automation. Automation should work in the benefit of the organization, not the adverse situation. So you need to adopt the automation which actually helps. Where you actually need an SME, you actually need an SME. The artificial intelligence may not help there. So you need to understand what you are actually adopting. Shape up the IT department for the future. So they should understand what needs to be delivered, what they used to deliver 6 years, 7 years back, and what they have to deliver in the coming 2-3 years are not same. So those business acumen should be making on their mind that they need to deliver this particular IT. Actually, it delivers a business objective or a business value, not a particular IT. So this transformation is needed with the IT department. Then very important point, we already know the data security bill is there already on the table of the Rajya Sabha, which is undergoing some change. So manage data security and governance effectively. European Union has already started it long back. The data security is important for us also. The GDPR, what they call in Europe, we call it data privacy, that need to be secured to the 2022. Start exploring quantum technologies use cases. Think about the metaverse that will expand. And don't take your eyes off cloud computing. Whatever negativity is there, you still need to go there with the cloud computing trends. Last but not the least is make sustainability a core business priority. So you need to sustain first, then you need to grow. Right. So these are my takes out here.
All right, I think with this, we come to an end of our conversation. Indranil, thank you very much for taking time out and speaking to CIOTV.live.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Indranil Chatterjee, Assistant Vice President, Security Compliance at Geo Platform Limited. If you have any query or question, please drop in mail in the ID given here at the end. Thank you very much.